Lisa sat at her small kitchen table staring at the newspaper spread before her. The coffee in her cup had gone cold hours ago, but she didn't notice. Her eyes kept returning to one particular ad in the classified section. Cook needed for ranch. Family. Widowed father with 3 children seeks reliable person to prepare meals. Room and board provided plus weekly pay. Serious inquiries only. At 41, Lisa had been alone for almost 3 years now. Her husband David had died in a terrible car accident on his way home from work one rainy evening. The insurance money was running low, and her part-time job at the local grocery store barely covered her rent and bills. She had been looking for something more stable, something that would give her a fresh start. Lisa had always been a good cook. David used to joke that her Sunday pot roast could bring world peace. She missed cooking for someone who appreciated it. These days, she mostly opened cans of soup or made simple sandwiches. Cooking for one person felt pointless somehow. She picked up her old phone and dialed the number before she could change her mind. "Morrison Ranch, this is Ben speaking," came a tired voice. "Hi, I'm calling about the cook position you advertised," Lisa said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "Can you come out tomorrow morning for an interview? Around 9? "Yes, I can do that. Could you give me directions?" Ben Morrison sounded exhausted, even while giving her simple directions to his ranch. Lisa wrote everything down carefully and hung up, wondering what she was getting herself into. The next morning, Lisa drove her old car down a dusty dirt road that seemed to go on forever. Rolling hills stretched out on both sides, dotted with cattle and the occasional tree. She had lived in town her whole life and wasn't used to such wide-open spaces. When she finally reached the ranch house, Lisa was surprised by what she saw. It was a decent-sized 2-story home, painted white with a wraparound porch. But the yard was messy with toys scattered around and weeds growing in what had once been flower beds. A broken swing hung from an old oak tree. Before she could knock, the front door opened. A tall man stepped out wearing faded jeans and a work shirt that had seen better days. His brown hair needed cutting, and there were dark circles under his green eyes. This had to be Ben Morrison. "You must be Lisa," he said, extending a work-roughened hand. "Thanks for coming out." "Thank you for considering me," she replied, shaking his hand firmly. Behind him, 3 children peered out from the doorway. A girl who looked about 12 had long brown hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She was holding the hand of a little girl, maybe 5 years old, with curly blonde hair and thumb in her mouth. A boy who appeared to be around 9 hung back, his arms crossed and a scowl on his face. "Kids, this is Miss Lisa. She might be our new cook," Ben said. "This is my daughter Grace, my son Peter, and my youngest Lucy." Grace stepped forward politely. "Nice to meet you, Miss Lisa." Peter just stared at her suspiciously, while little Lucy hid behind her sister. "Would you like to come inside and see the kitchen?" Ben asked. Lisa followed them into the house and immediately understood why Ben needed help. The living room was chaos. Clothes were draped over chairs, dishes sat on every surface, and toys covered the floor. It wasn't dirty exactly, just overwhelmed. The kitchen was even worse. The sink was full of dishes, the counters were cluttered with papers and empty cereal boxes, and she could see crushed crackers scattered across the floor. Ben noticed her looking around and ran a hand through his hair. "I know it's a mess. Between running the ranch and trying to keep up with these 3, I'm drowning. We've been living on sandwiches and whatever the neighbors bring by when they take pity on us." Lisa could see Grace trying to wipe down the counter with a dirty dish towel, clearly attempting to help her father. The sight tugged at her heart. "When did your wife pass away?" Lisa asked gently. "About 18 months ago." "Cancer," Ben said quietly, glancing at his children. "She was the one who kept everything running smoothly. I'm good with cattle and fixing fences, but this household stuff." He trailed off. "What exactly would you need me to do?" Lisa asked. "Breakfast and dinner every day. Pack lunches for the kids. Keep the kitchen clean." "That's it," Ben said firmly. "There's a small bedroom right off the kitchen that you could use. It has its own bathroom. I'd pay you $300 a week plus room and board." Lisa looked around the kitchen again, then at the 3 children watching her every move. Grace looked tired and worried, like she was carrying too much responsibility for her age. Peter seemed angry at the world, and little Lucy looked like she just needed someone to take care of her. "I used to cook for my late husband," Lisa said. "He always said I made the best meals in 3 counties. Mama used to make the best pancakes," Lucy suddenly spoke up, her first words since Lisa arrived. "Did she?" Lisa asked, crouching down to Lucy's level. "I bet they were delicious." Lucy nodded seriously. They had blueberries and she made them into smiley faces. Lisa felt her heart squeeze. "That sounds wonderful." Ben cleared his throat. "So are you interested in the job? I should mention this is strictly a work arrangement. You'd cook and maintain the kitchen, nothing more. I'm not looking for, well, anything beyond that." Lisa understood. He was protecting himself and his children from getting too attached to someone who might leave. She had her own walls to maintain too. "I understand completely," she said. "I'm just looking for honest work and a place to stay." "When could you start?" Ben asked. Lisa thought about her small apartment in town with its silence and memories. "How about Monday?" "That works. Breakfast is usually around 6:30 before the kids catch the school bus. Dinner around 6 in the evening. Weekends too." "I'll be here Monday morning," Lisa promised. As she drove back to town, Lisa wondered what she had just agreed to. She had come looking for a simple cooking job, but those 3 children and their overwhelmed father seemed to need so much more than just meals. That evening, Lisa packed her few belongings. She had accumulated so little in the years since David died. Most of their shared things had been too painful to keep. Now everything she owned fit into 2 suitcases and a few boxes. She thought about Grace, trying so hard to help her father manage everything. About Peter, angry and hurting. About little Lucy, who still remembered her mama's pancakes. And about Ben, working himself to exhaustion trying to hold his family together. Lisa had learned about loss and loneliness over the past 3 years. Maybe she could help this family, at least in some small way. After all, everyone deserved good meals made with care. Monday morning couldn't come soon enough. For the first time in years, Lisa felt like she had a purpose beyond just getting through each day. She was going to cook for people who needed her, and maybe that would be enough to fill some of the empty spaces in her own heart. She fell asleep that night planning menus in her head, thinking about nutritious breakfasts and hearty dinners. She didn't let herself think about anything beyond cooking. That was all this was supposed to be, after all. Just cooking. But deep down, Lisa knew that helping this family was going to change her in ways she couldn't predict. And maybe, just maybe, that was exactly what she needed. Lisa arrived at the Morrison Ranch at 5:30 Monday morning, just as the sun was starting to peek over the horizon. She wanted to get familiar with the kitchen before the family woke up. Ben had left a key under a flower pot on the porch. Just like he promised, the kitchen looked even worse in the morning light. Lisa rolled up her sleeves and got to work. First, she washed all the dishes piled in the sink. Then she wiped down every counter and swept the floor. She found some basic ingredients in the pantry and refrigerator, though pickings were slim. By 6:15, she had bacon sizzling in the pan and was mixing pancake batter. She could hear movement upstairs and the sound of children's voices. Grace appeared first, already dressed for school but looking sleepy. She stopped in the doorway, surprised to see the clean kitchen and smell of breakfast cooking. "Good morning, Grace," Lisa said cheerfully. "I hope you like pancakes." "You actually came," Grace said, sounding relieved. "Of course I did," I said I would. Peter came downstairs next, his hair sticking up in several directions. He grunted something that might have been good morning and slumped into a chair at the kitchen table. Little Lucy wandered in wearing mismatched pajamas, dragging a stuffed rabbit behind her. She climbed into her chair and watched Lisa with wide eyes. "Are you making pancakes?" Lucy asked hopefully. "I am indeed. And I found some blueberries in the freezer," Lisa said, adding the berries to the batter. "Would you like me to make yours into a smiley face like your mama used to?" Lucy nodded eagerly, and Lisa noticed Grace smile for the first time. Ben appeared just as Lisa was flipping the first batch of pancakes. He looked surprised to see his kitchen so organized and his children sitting quietly at the table instead of running around looking for cereal bars. "Smells good in here," he said, pouring himself coffee from the pot Lisa had made. "I hope everyone's hungry," Lisa replied, placing a stack of golden pancakes in front of each child. She had indeed made Lucy's into a smiley face, which made the little girl giggle with delight. For the first time in months, the Morrison family sat down together for a real breakfast. Peter ate 3 pancakes without complaining about anything. Grace helped Lucy cut her food and actually relaxed a little. Even Ben seemed less tired as he ate. "This is really good, Miss Lisa," Grace said politely. "Thank you, sweetheart." After breakfast, Lisa packed lunches for the children while Ben went to feed the animals. She made real sandwiches with thick slices of ham and cheese, added apples and cookies she found in the pantry, and included juice boxes she discovered in the refrigerator. When the school bus arrived, the children grabbed their lunch bags and backpacks. Grace paused at the door. "Will you still be here when we get home?" she asked quietly. Lisa's heart ached at the worry in the girl's voice. "Yes, I'll be here." After the children left and Ben headed out to work on the ranch, Lisa took stock of her new situation. The house was bigger than she was used to, but it felt empty despite all the clutter. She spent the morning organizing the kitchen properly and making a list of groceries they would need. When she went upstairs to put away some clean towels, she couldn't help but notice the children's bedrooms. Grace's room was neat but cramped, with too much furniture. Peter's looked like a tornado had hit it. Lucy's still had a crib she had clearly outgrown, and clothes were scattered everywhere. Lisa told herself it wasn't her business. She was here to cook, not to reorganize their lives, but it was hard to ignore what she saw. That afternoon, she drove to town to buy groceries, using the money Ben had left for her. She planned meals for the week, making sure to include foods she knew children would eat. When she returned, she found Peter sitting on the porch steps looking dejected. "You're home early," she said, checking her watch. "It was only 2:30. "Got suspended," Peter mumbled. "Got in a fight at school." Lisa set down her grocery bags and sat beside him on the steps. "Want to talk about it?" Peter shrugged. "This kid said my dad doesn't take care of us right. Said we always look messy and hungry." Lisa's heart broke a little. "What did you do?" "Hit him," Peter said simply. "Dad's gonna be mad." "He'll be worried more than mad," Lisa said. "Your dad loves you kids very much. He's just trying to figure everything out." "Everything was easier when Mama was here," Peter said quietly. Lisa nodded. "I bet it was. Losing someone you love is really hard." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the cattle graze in the distance. "Are you going to leave too?" Peter asked suddenly. "I'm not planning to," Lisa said honestly. "I like it here." That evening, Lisa made her first real dinner for the family. She prepared meatloaf with mashed potatoes and green beans, simple comfort food that would fill their bellies and maybe warm their hearts a little. When Ben came home and found Peter on the couch instead of getting off the school bus, Lisa quietly explained what had happened while she finished cooking. She watched Ben's shoulders slump with exhaustion and worry. "I don't know what to do with him," Ben said quietly. "He's been so angry since his mother died, I can't seem to reach him." "He's hurting," Lisa said simply. "Sometimes anger is easier than sadness." During dinner, the family was quieter than at breakfast. Peter picked at his food while Grace tried to fill the silence with chatter about her day at school. Lucy managed to get mashed potatoes in her hair somehow. After dinner, while Ben went to help Peter with homework as punishment for fighting, Lisa cleaned Lucy up and started a load of laundry. She found herself naturally falling into a routine, doing small tasks that needed doing. When she went to say goodnight before heading to her small room, she found Grace washing dishes at the sink. "You don't have to do that, honey," Lisa said. "That's my job now." "I always help Dad," Grace said, but she looked relieved to hand over the dish rag. "You're a good girl, Grace, but you should be thinking about school and friends, not taking care of everyone else." Grace looked up at her with serious eyes. "Someone has to help. Dad tries, but he can't do everything." Lisa understood then how much responsibility this 12-year-old had been carrying. "Well, I'm here now. You can just be a kid." That night, lying in her small but comfortable room off the kitchen, Lisa listened to the sounds of the house settling. She could hear Ben's heavy footsteps upstairs as he checked on his children. She heard Peter's door close a little too hard and Grace's soft voice reading a story to Lucy. This family was broken in some ways, still healing from their tremendous loss. But they loved each other fiercely, and they were trying their best to figure out how to move forward. Lisa had come here just to cook meals and earn money, but already after just one day she found herself caring about whether Peter got in more fights, whether Grace was taking on too much responsibility, and whether little Lucy felt safe and loved. She told herself to be careful. These weren't her children, and Ben wasn't her husband. She was an employee, nothing more. But as she drifted off to sleep, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Tomorrow she would make them breakfast again, pack their lunches with care, and have dinner ready when they came home. It was simple work, but it felt important. For the first time in 3 years, Lisa felt needed, and that was a feeling she had almost forgotten was possible. 3 weeks had passed since Lisa started working at the Morrison Ranch, and already the house felt different. The kitchen stayed clean and organized, real meals appeared on the table twice a day, and the children had stopped that constant look of hunger and worry. Lisa had settled into a comfortable routine. She woke early to prepare hearty breakfasts, packed nutritious lunches with little notes of encouragement, and spent her afternoons planning dinners and keeping the kitchen running smoothly. The work was more satisfying than she had expected. 3. Children had started lingering after meals, drawn to the warmth of the kitchen and Lisa's gentle presence. Grace would do her homework at the kitchen table while Lisa cooked, occasionally asking for help with math problems. Peter had stopped being quite so suspicious and sometimes told her about his day at school. Lucy had taken to following Lisa, around like a shadow, chattering about everything and nothing. One evening, while Lisa was making chicken and dumplings, Grace looked up from her science textbook. "Miss Lisa, do you think my mom would be proud of how we're doing now?" she asked quietly. Lisa paused in her stirring, choosing her words carefully. "I think your mother would be very proud of how you take care of your little sister and help your dad. And I think she'd be happy that you're all eating better and smiling more." Grace nodded thoughtfully. "I remember she always said the kitchen was the heart of the home. Your mother sounds like she was a wise woman." She was. "She made the best chocolate chip cookies in the whole world," Grace said with a wistful smile. "Maybe you could teach me her recipe sometime," Lisa suggested. Grace's face lit up. "Really? You'd want to learn?" "I'd be honored to learn." That weekend, Grace spent Saturday afternoon teaching Lisa how to make her mother's famous cookies. They worked side by side, Grace carefully explaining each step the way her mother had taught her. When Peter and Lucy smelled the cookies baking, they appeared in the kitchen as if summoned by magic. "They smell just like Mama's," Lucy whispered, her eyes wide. When Ben came in from working on a broken fence, he stopped short at the familiar aroma filling the house. His eyes grew misty as he watched his children eagerly waiting for the cookies to cool. "They're perfect, Grace," he said softly, tasting one. "Just like your mother made them." Lisa watched the family share this sweet memory and felt honored to be part of preserving it. She was learning that her role here was about more than just cooking food. She was helping to maintain the connections that held this family together. A few days later, a spring storm rolled in during the afternoon, bringing heavy rain and strong winds. The power went out just as Lisa was starting dinner preparations. She found candles and flashlights, then decided to make the best of the situation. "How about we have an adventure dinner?" she suggested when the children got home from school, soaked from running through the rain. She set up a picnic on blankets in the living room, lit candles for atmosphere, and served grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup that she managed to heat on the gas stove. Lucy was delighted by eating dinner on the floor, and even Peter admitted it was pretty cool. When Ben arrived home to find his family having a candlelit picnic in the living room with Lisa telling funny stories that had the children laughing. He felt something shift in his chest. For the first time since his wife died, the house felt truly alive again. After the children went to bed, Ben insisted on driving Lisa home through the storm. Her old car had been making strange noises lately, and the roads were treacherous. "You don't have to do this," Lisa protested as they carefully navigated the muddy ranch road. "Yes, I do," Ben said simply. "You've done so much for us. It's the least I can do." During the drive, they talked more than they ever had before. Ben shared stories about his wife, about how they had met in college and built the ranch together. Lisa found herself talking about David, about their simple but happy life together, and about how lost she had felt after he died. "It's strange how life works out," Ben said as he walked her to her apartment door. "A few weeks ago, we were just surviving day to day. Now the kids are happier than they've been since Ellen died." "They're good kids," Lisa said. "They just needed some stability. They needed you," Ben said quietly, then seemed surprised by his own words. Lisa felt her cheeks warm, but before she could respond, Ben was already saying goodnight and heading back to his truck. The next morning, Lisa arrived at the ranch to find Lucy running a fever and feeling miserable. Ben was torn between staying with his sick daughter and dealing with a cattle emergency that couldn't wait. "Go handle your cattle," Lisa told him firmly. "I'll take care of Lucy." "But that's not part of your job description," Ben protested. "Sometimes life doesn't follow job descriptions," Lisa replied, already gathering supplies to make Lucy more comfortable. Ben looked at her gratefully. "I don't know what we'd do without you anymore." Lisa spent the day caring for Lucy, making her soup and toast, reading stories, and holding her while she napped. When Grace and Peter came home from school, she helped them with homework while keeping an eye on their little sister. That evening, Ben found Lisa asleep in the chair beside Lucy's bed, her hand still resting on the little girl's forehead. The sight hit him like a physical blow. This woman, who had come here as a temporary employee, was caring for his daughter like she was her own. Lucy recovered quickly, but something had changed in the family dynamic. The children had seen Lisa put their needs before her own comfort, and they began to trust her completely. Ben had seen her maternal instincts in action, and it awakened feelings he had tried to keep buried. One evening, after Lucy had climbed into Lisa's lap during story time and fallen asleep there, Grace looked up from her book. "Miss Lisa, do you like being here with us?" she asked. "I love it here," Lisa answered honestly. "Good," Grace said with satisfaction. "Because we need you." Lisa looked down at sleeping Lucy, then at Grace and Peter doing their homework nearby. Through the window she could see Ben working in the barn, his figure illuminated by the evening light. This family had welcomed her in ways she hadn't expected. She had come here broken and lonely, looking for nothing more than work. But somehow, in caring for them, she was healing too. She was beginning to realize that what had started as a simple job arrangement was becoming something much deeper and more complicated. The boundaries she had carefully maintained were starting to blur, and she wasn't sure what that meant for any of them. But as Lucy snuggled closer in her sleep, and Grace shared a smile with her across the room, Lisa couldn't bring herself to worry about it. For the first time in years, she felt like she belonged somewhere. She felt like she was home. The question was, what would happen when Ben and the children realized they felt the same way about her? And more importantly, was Lisa ready to open her heart to the possibility of loving and being loved again? Only time would tell. But as spring turned toward summer and the Morrison family continued to heal and grow stronger together, one thing became clear. Lisa had become much more than their cook. She had become essential to who they were as a family. And that was both wonderful and terrifying all at once. By late spring, Lisa had been with the Morrison family for nearly 2 months, and the changes were remarkable. The children had gained weight and color in their cheeks. Grace seemed more relaxed, actually acting like a 12-year-old instead of a miniature adult. Peter's angry outburst had become rare, replaced by genuine laughter. Lucy had stopped having nightmares about her mother and slept peacefully through the night. Ben looked better too. The dark circles under his eyes had faded, and he smiled more often. Having reliable help with meals and someone who genuinely cared about his children had lifted a tremendous weight from his shoulders. But with the positive changes came new complications. The careful boundaries Lisa had established were becoming harder to maintain. It started with small things. Grace began asking Lisa's opinion about clothes and friends, the way a daughter might ask her mother. Peter showed Lisa his art projects from school before anyone else, seeking her approval and praise. Lucy had started calling her Mama Lisa when she was sleepy or upset, which made Lisa's heart ache in the most wonderful and terrifying way. "She doesn't mean anything by it," Ben said one evening after Lucy had fallen asleep calling for Mama Lisa to read her another story. "I know," Lisa replied, but her voice was thick with emotion. "Does it bother you? I can talk to her about it." Lisa shook her head. "No, please don't. I never thought I'd hear a child call me Mama. David and I tried for years to have children, but it never happened." Ben was quiet for a moment. "Ellen always said children choose who they love. You can't force it and you can't stop it either." Their eyes met across the kitchen and Lisa felt something electric pass between them. Ben looked away first, mumbling something about checking on the cattle before heading outside. The truth was, Lisa's feelings for Ben were growing stronger. Every day, despite her efforts to keep things professional, she loved watching him with his children, seeing his patience and gentleness with them. She admired his work ethic and his determination to provide for his family, and sometimes, when he smiled at her across the dinner table, or thanked her for something she'd done, she felt butterflies in her stomach like a teenager. Ben was struggling with his own emotions. He found himself looking forward to coming home each evening, not just for Lisa's delicious meals, but for her warm smile and the sound of her laughter mixing with his children's voices. He caught himself watching her while she cooked, noticing the way she hummed quietly, or how she always made sure everyone else was served before sitting down herself. One Saturday morning, Lisa was in town buying groceries when she ran into her old neighbor from her apartment building. "Lisa, I hardly see you anymore," the woman said. "How's that job working out?" "It's wonderful," Lisa replied honestly. "The family is really special." "Are you getting attached? You look different somehow." "Happier." Lisa paused, a can of tomatoes in her hand. "I suppose I am attached. More than I probably should be." "And the father? What's he like?" Lisa felt her cheeks warm. "He's a good man. A wonderful father." Her neighbor raised an eyebrow knowingly. "Sounds like this job has become more than just work for you." That afternoon, Lisa found herself really thinking about her situation for the first time in weeks. What was she doing? She had fallen in love with this family, with these children who weren't hers, with a man who had hired her as an employee. What would happen when Ben decided he no longer needed a cook? What if he met someone else and wanted to start over with a clean slate? Her fears seemed justified the following week when Ben's sister-in-law, Jennifer, came to visit. Jennifer was everything Lisa wasn't. Young, unmarried, full of energy, and clearly interested in Ben. "The children seem well cared for," Jennifer said, watching Lisa serve lunch. "But Ben, you know this is just a temporary solution, right? You need to think about finding them a real mother figure." Lisa felt like she'd been slapped. She continued, serving silently, but her hands shook slightly as she set down the plates. "Lisa is doing a fine job," Ben said firmly. "The kids are happy and healthy." "Oh, I'm sure she's adequate," Jennifer said with a dismissive wave. "But you need to think bigger picture. Someone who could be a real partner to you, not just hired help." After Jennifer left, the house felt different. Lisa noticed Ben seemed distant and preoccupied. The children sensed the tension too and were more clingy than usual. That evening, while Lisa was cleaning up after dinner, Grace appeared at her side. "Miss Lisa, are you going to leave us?" she asked quietly. "Why would you ask that, sweetheart?" "I heard Aunt Jennifer talking to Dad. She said he needs to find us a real mom, not just someone who works here." Lisa's heart clenched. "Grace, You are real to us," Grace interrupted, her young voice fierce. You're more real than anyone else has been since Mama died. Before Lisa could respond, Peter appeared in the doorway. Grace is right, he said, his usual attitude replaced by unusual seriousness. You make everything better. You make Dad smile again. Lucy wandered in, rubbing her eyes sleepily. Are you sad, Mama Lisa? Your face looks sad. Lisa knelt down and gathered all 3 children close to her. I love you all so very much, she whispered, her voice breaking slightly. We love you too, Grace said fiercely. Don't let anyone tell you you're not real to us. That night, Ben found Lisa sitting on the porch steps after the children had gone to bed. She was staring up at the stars, her expression thoughtful and sad. Mind if I join? You? He asked. Lisa moved over to make room for him. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the night sounds of the ranch. Jennifer means well, Ben said finally, but she doesn't understand what we have here. What do we have here, Ben? Lisa asked quietly. Ben was quiet for a long moment. I'm not sure I know how to put it into words, he said finally. All I know is that my children are happier than they've been since Ellen died. And I look forward to coming home every day in a way I haven't in years. Lisa felt tears prick her eyes. Your sister-in-law is right about one thing. The children do need a real mother figure in their lives. And what if I think they already have one? Ben asked softly. Lisa turned to look at him, her heart pounding. In the moonlight, his expression was tender and vulnerable. Ben, she started but didn't know how to finish. I know this is complicated, he said. I know you came here just for a job, and I never meant for things to get personal. But Lisa, you've become so much more than just our cook. You've brought life back to this house, to my children, to me. Lisa felt her carefully constructed, walls crumbling. I never meant for this to happen either. But Ben, I love those children like they were my own. And She stopped, afraid to say the rest. And? Ben prompted gently. And I've fallen in love with you too, she whispered. Ben reached over and took her hand. I was hoping you'd say that, because I love you too, Lisa. I think I started falling the first morning I came downstairs and saw you making breakfast for my kids, humming while you cooked. They sat holding hands under the stars, both overwhelmed by the magnitude of what they were admitting to each other. So what happens now? Lisa asked. I don't know, Ben said honestly. All I know is that I don't want you to go anywhere. I want you here with us as part of our family, not as an employee, but as whatever you want to be. Lisa squeezed his hand. I want to be here too, more than anything. But even as they sat together planning a future that seemed too good to be true, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that something would come along to threaten this fragile happiness they were building together. She was right to worry. Life was about to test just how strong their growing love really was. The phone call came on a Tuesday morning in early June, just as Lisa was packing lunches for the children. The voice on the other end belonged to her late husband's brother, Mark, calling from Oklahoma. Lisa, I need you to come back home, Mark said without preamble. I'm selling the family farm, and there are legal papers that need your signature. Plus, there's David's things stored in the barn that you need to go through. Lisa felt her stomach drop. Can't this be handled by mail? Or over the phone? Afraid not. The lawyer says you need to be here in person. And honestly, Lisa, it's time you came back. This running away to play house with strangers isn't healthy. You belong here, where people know you, where David's memory lives. Lisa's hands trembled as she held the phone. I'm not playing house, Mark. I have a job here, responsibilities. Cooking and cleaning for some rancher? Come on, Lisa. You're worth more than that. There's a nice apartment available right next to Martha Henderson's place. You could start over properly, maybe find a real job, meet someone suitable. After Mark hung up, Lisa sat at the kitchen table, staring at the phone. The children would be down for breakfast soon, expecting their usual cheerful morning routine. Ben would appear, looking for coffee and conversation before heading out to work, and she would have to tell them all that she might have to leave. The word might was doing a lot of work in her mind. Mark had made it clear that the legal issues could take weeks to resolve, and once she was back in Oklahoma, surrounded by memories of David and pressure from his family to stay. Would she have the strength to return to Texas? When Ben came downstairs and saw her pale face, he immediately sat down beside her. "What's wrong?" Lisa explained about Mark's call, watching Ben's expression grow more troubled with each word. "How long would you be gone?" he asked quietly. "I don't know. Maybe a few weeks? Maybe—" She couldn't finish the sentence. "Maybe longer," Ben finished. "For her." His voice was steady, but Lisa could see the pain in his eyes. "Ben, I don't want to go, but David's family has been good to me, and I do have legal obligations." "I understand," Ben said, though his jaw was tight. "When do you need to leave?" "This weekend." The breakfast that morning was subdued. The children sensed something was wrong. Though Lisa and Ben tried to act normal, Grace kept shooting worried glances at the adults. Peter was unusually quiet. Lucy seemed to sense the tension and stayed close to Lisa's side. That evening, Lisa sat the children down and explained that she needed to go back to Oklahoma for a few weeks to take care of some business related to her late husband. "But you're coming back, right?" Grace asked immediately. Lisa hesitated, unwilling to make a promise she might not be able to keep. "Right?" Grace pressed, her voice rising, with panic. "I hope so, sweetheart, I really hope so." Peter jumped up from his chair. "You're leaving us just like Mom did." "Peter, that's not—" Ben started. "It is the same," Peter shouted, tears streaming down his face. "Everyone leaves, everyone dies, or goes away." He ran from the room, slamming his bedroom door behind him. Lucy started crying, not understanding what was happening, but sensing that her world was about to change again. That night, Ben found Lisa packing her few belongings with tears running down her cheeks. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. "Yes, I do. David's family has been patient with me, but they're right. I have responsibilities back home." "What about your responsibilities here? What about Grace needing help with her science project next week? What about Peter finally trusting someone? Again, what about Lucy calling you Mama?" Lisa's hands stilled on her suitcase. "Ben, don't make this harder than it already is. What about what we talked about the other night? What about us?" Lisa turned to face him, her heart breaking at the pain in his expression. "Maybe this is for the best. Maybe Jennifer was right, and the children need someone who can give them more than I can. Someone without complications, without a past that keeps pulling them away." Ben stepped closer, taking her hands in his. "Lisa, you are exactly what we need. You are what I need. Don't let other people's expectations make you forget that." The next morning, Lisa's goodbye was heartbreaking. Grace cried quietly, trying to be brave. Peter refused to come out of his room. Lucy clung to Lisa's legs, sobbing, "Don't go, Mama Lisa, please don't go." Ben drove Lisa to the bus station in town, both of them quiet during the ride. As she got ready to board the bus, he pulled her aside. "I meant what I said the other night. I love you, Lisa, we all do. Don't forget that while you're gone." "I love you too," she whispered, then forced herself to get on the bus before she lost her nerve entirely. Back in Oklahoma, Lisa was thrown into a whirlwind of legal meetings, paperwork, and decisions about David's remaining possessions. Mark had arranged for her to stay with family friends, and everyone treated her return as permanent. "It's good to have you home where you belong," Martha Henderson said over coffee. "That job in Texas was just a phase, something to help you heal. But now you can build a real life again." But as the days passed, Lisa felt more lost than ever. Oklahoma had been her home with David, but without him it felt like a place she was visiting, not where she belonged. She missed the morning chaos of getting 3 children ready for school. She missed the satisfaction of cooking meals for people who appreciated them. She missed the way Ben looked at her across the dinner table, and the sound of Lucy's giggles, and Grace's earnest questions, and even Peter's dramatic sighs. 2 weeks into her stay, she received a package with no return address. Inside was a drawing from Lucy, a picture of their family with Lisa included standing in front of the ranch house. At the bottom, In Grace's careful handwriting were the words, "We miss you, Mama Lisa." Lisa cried for an hour after opening that package. 3 weeks after she left Texas, Lisa was going through David's things in the barn when she found their old photo albums. Looking through pictures of their life together, she realized something important. David had loved her deeply, but he had also wanted her to be happy. If he were here, he would want her to grab onto the love and family she had found, not cling to the past out of obligation. That evening, she called the ranch. Grace answered the phone. "Miss Lisa, are you coming home soon?" "Home?" Grace had called the ranch home, and Lisa realized that's exactly how she thought of it too. "I'm working on it, sweetheart. How is everyone?" "Dad's really sad. He tries to hide it, but I can tell. And Peter got in another fight at school yesterday. And Lucy keeps asking when you're coming back." After talking to Grace, Ben got on the phone. "How are the legal things going?" he asked. "They're almost finished." "Ben, Lisa, before you say anything, I need you to know something. The kids and we had a family meeting last night." Lisa's heart clenched. "Oh?" "They wanted me to call you and officially ask you something, but they insisted they should be the ones to do it." Suddenly, Lisa could hear children's voices in the background, and then Grace came back on the phone. "Miss Lisa, we have something important to ask you." Lisa heard paper rustling, and then Grace's voice, clearly reading from something prepared. "Dear Miss Lisa, we know you went away to take care of important things, but we want you to know that you're not just our cook. You're our family. You make everything better and happier." Lisa heard Peter's voice join in. "We don't care if you weren't our first mom. You're our mom now, the one who takes care of us and loves us." Then Lucy's little voice, "Please come home, Mama Lisa. We need you." Finally, Grace again. "So we're all asking together, will you please come back and stay with us forever? Will you please be our real mom?" Lisa was crying too hard to speak for a moment. "And Lisa?" That was Ben's voice now. "Will you marry me? Will you be my wife and their mother officially and forever?" Through her tears, Lisa managed to say, "Yes. Yes to everything. Yes, I'll come home. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, I'll be there, Mom, forever." "Really?" she heard Lucy squeal in the background. "Really?" Lisa laughed through her tears. "I love you all so much. I'm coming home." The next day, Lisa signed the last of the legal papers and said goodbye to David's family, who were disappointed but not surprised by her decision. "You found something good in Texas," Mark admitted grudgingly. "David would want you to be happy." When Lisa's bus pulled up to the station in town, she saw Ben waiting for her with all 3 children. Lucy broke away from her father and ran to Lisa, launching herself into her arms. "Mama Lisa, you came back!" Grace and Peter were right behind her, both talking at once about everything that had happened while she was gone. Ben hung back, smiling at the reunion, until Lisa looked over the children's heads and met his eyes. "Welcome home," he said simply. 6 months later, on a perfect autumn day, Lisa Henderson became Lisa Morrison in a simple ceremony at the ranch, surrounded by neighbors and friends. Grace served as maid of honor. Peter walked Lisa down the aisle, and Lucy scattered flower petals with more enthusiasm than precision. During their vows, Ben promised to love and cherish Lisa for all the days of his life. Lisa promised to love Ben and to be the best mother she could be to Grace, Peter, and Lucy. But the most moving moment came when the minister asked if anyone had anything to add to the ceremony. The 3 Morrison children stepped forward together. "We want to say something?" Grace announced. She looked at Lisa with shining eyes. "Thank you for coming to cook for us.